was something we haven't seen with any other president. And to me, actually, it was shocking enough that I didn't think it would stand. I thought that would be sort of an outlier. But now look at this. Gallup just did its follow-up poll, now 1 month into Trump being back in office, and his numbers have gotten worse. He's not -1 anymore. Now he's -6, which makes him, at this point in his term, not only the most disliked and unpopular president in 70-plus years of...
Despite Elon Musk's and Donald Trump's claims to support free speech, their behavior makes it abundantly evident that this is not the case, and while there are many journalists who use their right to free speech to infuriate Donald Trump, it was made abundantly evident during a speech and post by Trump today, who is at the top of that list, Rachel Maddow. Her recent reporting has annoyed Trump so much that, as I mentioned, he began attacking her. We'll discuss all of that, but before we do, I would like to ask you to quickly like this video, and if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. If you like our channel, it means a lot to me and goes a long way. Naturally, we must first examine what Rachel Maddow is reporting to make Donald Trump so enraged before we watch that video of him losing it. Now let's examine that directly.
Data is in. It's been a month officially as of today for this new presidential term. And what the data says, sort of broadly, bottom line, is that the country kind of hates this guy. Yeah, I shouldn't say hate. It's not the right word. It's not a nice word. Maybe it's can't stand him. Or maybe I shouldn't characterize it at all. I'll show you the numbers. I will say we probably should have seen this coming. I didn't necessarily believe that it was coming this far, this fast, but, right out of the gate, Gallup did polling just after the inauguration. They did their first poll on public opinion of Trump in this second term, starting immediately after the inauguration. Literally, they had their first poll in the field the first full day Trump was in office, the day after he was sworn in. That is the definition of the honeymoon period, right? That's when you are at your high watermark in terms of what people are expecting from you and hoping for from you. But in that first Gallup poll of this presidential term, sort of shockingly, Trump was already underwater. In his first week in office, more Americans disapproved of him than approved of him. I mean, only by 1 point, but still, that's unheard of. That's a more than unusual thing in presidential polling. Gallup, in fact, said at the time that in the 70-plus years they have been doing presidential polling, Donald Trump is the only president for whom his approval ratings were underwater right at the start of his term in office, meaning more people disliked him than liked him. So in that first week Gallup poll, Trump was underwater, 47 approving, 48% disapproving. So that means he was coming in at -1. And like I said, that was something we haven't seen with any other president. And to me, actually, it was shocking enough that I didn't think it would stand. I thought that would be sort of an outlier. But now look at this. Gallup just did its follow-up poll, now 1 month into Trump being back in office, and his numbers have gotten worse. He's not -1 anymore. Now he's -6. Which makes him, at this point in his term, not only the most disliked and unpopular president in 70-plus years of Gallup polling, Gallup says it actually puts him 15 points below the average polling for presidents, again, over the last 72 years in which they have been doing this polling. At this point in a presidential term, 1 month in, the average is 15 points higher than where Trump is right now. Nobody has ever started off a presidential term this poorly.
When Donald Trump first took office, too many Democrats in Congress believed that perhaps people wanted to work with him and that we should try to be bipartisan. This is because the numbers are in Donald and they are historic, bad, so bad, in fact, that they are almost impressive. Perhaps this will be a real agency in DOJ, because his policies are unpopular and the things that people believe they were voting for would never happen. I was strongly opposing that, and they've come to that realization, and the vast majority of MAA Republicans who supported Donald Trump have come to that realization, and Trump is not pleased that Rachel Maddow is bringing that information to his attention. For this reason, we can see that it's really beginning to get under his skin in 2 clips at C. attack. He attacked Rachel Maddow in the first, of course, and lied about that approval rating in the second. Let's examine both then.
And our approval rating is now the highest ever across all demographics. Rasmussen just came out at 56%. Insider Advantage, 56%. RMG Research, 57%. And we have many polls in the mid-60s, one at 71%. We like that, 71.
Donald Trump also followed up on all of that by saying that MSNBC, also referred to as IDC, is a threat to our democracy because of the dishonest and deceptive individuals at the top. Therefore, it has been just like any other day despite the hatred directed at Donald Trump. However, he is obviously aware that the polling is declining, so should we be shocked? The funny thing about all of this is that even though people acknowledge that they despise Donald Trump, they tend to forget that, in some way even more than Trump, Elon Musk is primar to blame for the poor polling and the negative perception that the Trump administration has in America. Elon Musk, his obvious co-president, is dragging him down a lot, which is hilarious. This is why I've been saying for a long time that we need to focus on Elon Musk and all these discussions about the oligarchy that is developing around Donald Trump and the dark money that isn't actually investing in our politics but has instead become it. We must draw attention to that. We must resist Elon Musk's efforts to eliminate school lunch program and reduce funding for cancer research. Additionally, instead of investing billions of dollars, he could embezzle billions more from our taxes for his businesses. That's the main point, and it does not reflect well on the Trump administration. Speaking of Elon, Rachel Maddow has been doing a fantastic job, which is obviously the reason Donald Trump is upset with her. She covered the Elon situation, if we may use that term, a little more. Indeed, this is something you will truly want to hear.
Value since Inauguration Day. Tesla sales in Europe have taken huge hits recently, down 40 or 50% or more in the largest markets in Europe. Overall, in the last year, globally, electric vehicle sales are up 25%, but Tesla sales are down 1%. And down 1% may not seem like that big a deal, even as the overall market for that type of vehicle is going up. But consider that minus 1% of that drop in Tesla sales this year follows the last 2 years in which Tesla sales were up 38% and up 40%. And now this year they're minus 1%. Now, how does that kind of thing affect his ultimate role in what he's doing to our government and what he thinks of his public image, and what he's making the public think of him? I don't know, but I think the most reasonable thing to expect is that it's going to be unpredictable, because I think there's a lot of weird variables at play here. I mean, obviously, this is a personal crusade of his to destroy as much of the constitutional republic as he can, without any regard at all for him having any legitimate government authority or following any laws. The personal dynamic, in addition, between this campaign donor and the president himself is very unusual, given that the president seems to have personally empowered this guy without actually giving him a government job. So the personal dynamic between them is all that Elon Musk has to stand on in terms of what he is doing to our government. The dynamic between them is weird, in which the president is effectively sidelined while Elon Musk takes center stage. The president, in contrast, appears to be weak and sort of beside the point, while his campaign donor regularly upstages him and talks over him, both in interviews and in the Oval Office. I mean, that would be hard to take for even the least egotistical president. It remains to be seen how we'll play out with this one. Along those lines, I have to say, this is also very strange, late-breaking news. I'm not quite sure what to do with this at all, but you should know. CNN was first to report today that the Trump administration has made an unusual decision with regard to Elon Musk's phalanx of private personal bodyguards. Now, NBC has not confirmed this, but CNN is reporting, based on 3 law enforcement sources, that the administration had the U.S. Marshals Service officially deputize members of Elon Musk's team of private bodyguards. And that may sound like kind of a bureaucratic designation, but one practical consequence of that is that the Marshals Service may now allow Musk's team of personal bodyguards to carry weapons on federal property. Loaded weapons. CNN reports, quote, some people close to Trump's White House have been taken aback by the scale of security that has surrounded Elon Musk since he became a regular presence in Trump's orbit last year. Musk's security detail rivaled only that of the president himself, the sources observed. But now, with this decision by the U.S. Marshal Service, now Trump and Musk, when they're in the same place, like in the White House or on other federal property, they're both going to be surrounded by equally huge phalanxes of armed guards. One set of them, the Secret Service, presumably loyal to Trump, and the other set also armed.
I had assumed that Donald Trump would be the first to weaponize the military because he had mentioned doing so in order to attack the enemy from within, but it appears that Elon and his armed guards, who in some way he has permitted, will do so first. I assume that a competition will be held there. This is just completely ridiculous. And once more, this is the reason Elon must be at the center. He is the one in charge, and he is doing it until it fails. The cuts are being made by him. Donald Trump is unconcerned. He's old and worn out. Every single day he's going crazy, and I wouldn't be shocked at all. People are discussing whether Trump wants to seek a third term. Is Elon interested in running for office? Will he attempt to persuade us to amend the Constitution? You're not from here, Elon, and we don't trust you, so I wouldn't be shocked if you stop talking about immigration. We're going to have a couple more of those on this show, so perhaps leave. Perhaps Elon Musk should be deported. I don't know. Seems like a good idea. As always, you can support that by liking this video and clicking the subscribe button. You can also leave a blue heart in the comments if you stayed until the very end, and I'll see you soon. Until the next time.